So today we're going to be taking a look at my pick'ems for the playoffs. Just a quick heads up that there will be an analysis video coming later today, but I just wanted to get this out before the playoffs start, of course. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting event, but we all know nothing, as you can kind of tell by the leaderboard here, because one person got everything right, and pretty much the rest of us got a lot wrong. In fact, the majority, 18%, the highest amount, got literally nothing right. Which just goes to show how hard this actually is. I'm down here on 10 points with 2 things right, which obviously isn't ideal either. So yeah, we all know nothing pretty much. It's not really going very well for most of us. This tournament has been full of quite a few upsets. Here were my predictions for the group stages. So I had DRX as one of my wins, and I had Team Liquid over Crew as my other one, but the rest were all wrong in some way, so that wasn't that great. But now let's get into my predictions for what's going to happen in the playoffs, and obviously I will be giving some reasoning, having watched all of these teams, obviously quite a few times if they've already been playing, but now with, kind of better understanding of where these teams might be. So the first game is G2 versus Zeta, and obviously all the teams that have kind of been straight through to the playoffs, they have that advantage of knowing what pretty much everyone else is likely to play, what maps they look good on, all of that stuff. So I do expect that there will be a slight advantage for those teams. But I also think that if you're a team that's kind of been going on a bit of a roll, like a Liquid or something, and you perhaps were in a bad place when the tournament first started, but now you've probably built up a bit of confidence, I actually think those group stages were probably a good thing for Liquid. And if they were coming straight into this off the cold, I wouldn't like their chances. But so it has been a kind of 50-50 affair. Obviously, Zeta and G2 is our first game, but I do think that G2 will just be able to beat Zeta. I still think that, Zeta, whilst they've shown that they can definitely out-aim people and things like that, I do think that G2, with the extra time and the preparation that they will have put into this game, will be able to defeat Zeta, unfortunately. I just think that they, probably are the better team, and that they, with that extra preparation as well, I do think that they will, find a way to be performing pretty well in this game. And this one, I'm not expecting it to be too close. Zeta, of course, have been on an incredible run, but I do think G2 will be able to pull this one out. And then our next game is Loud versus Team Liquid. This will be an absolute banger of a game. Two very similar teams, I must say, in the terms of having just 5 people who can just frag out. These are the 2 teams that maybe come in the top of the world for just that, where all 5 players can just randomly carry you. Absolutely absurdly good gunplay. And this game, to me, will probably come down to, I can envisage a scenario. This will be a 2-1, I think, pretty much either way, or at least I kind of expect it to be. If it's not, then I'll be impressed with the team that wins 2-0 heavily. But I would expect it to be a 2-1. And I kind of think whatever team kind of has just more people having insanely good games, whether it's Liquid and Screams popping off, and Yampy, who's been incredible so far, keeps going, or if it's on the side of Loud and Aspas and Sassy and all of those guys and Les and whatnot. Obviously, they do have a bit of a COVID problem. I don't know how, ill they actually are. Obviously it's kind of a weird thing. So I don't know how under the weather the actual players are that have COVID on the side of Loud. So that might add in a bit of uncertainty in that kind of thing. They'll be separated from the team and whatnot. But I am going to go Liquid. I think a lot of people will go Loud, but I am going to go Liquid. Not for any real reason, to be honest. More just that I think with the COVID situation not being ideal for Loud, I do think that Liquid will have built up that confidence and are used to what the LAN experience is like at this point, and how they feel about it. I just think that, it'll be a bit of a coin flip game of who can sort of just frag the hardest. And I think it might just be Liquid for this one event. If you're a Brazilian fan, don't freak out, because the rest of the Preds, I think you'll be, happier with than this first one. But let's keep going. And we come to Paper Rex versus DRX. Now, I would have liked Paper Rex against any other team that came out of the groups. I would be picking Paper Rex in this scenario, because Paper Rex are a chaotic team, and they lure you in, and they dare you to play chaotically against them. And the thing is, I think every other team would be naive enough to accept that challenge and go, yeah, we'll play you in this chaotic game. DRX are the one team left in the entire tournament, even the top seeds, I think, that have the discipline to not play Paper Rex at their own game. and to avoid playing Paper Rex's game, and to basically manage the game in their own way. What I mean is stuff like, I can see Paper Rex doing something where, they're on the defensive side and they just do a full execute push out from one side of the map. And, let's say the attacking team is holding a default. I feel like pretty much every other team, whoever's on that side that's getting attacked, would say, yeah, I can take this challenge. Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. I've got this. I'll kill 2 of them. Don't worry about it. And then they'll die. And then it'll be a 5v4 that Paper Rex will win. Whereas DRX, I feel like, are the one team where no matter who you're pushing, they aren't going to take that challenge. They're going to play smart. Then they don't have that kind of ego of, I can do this. They're just going to play to win as much as they can. They're very careful with their approach. And so, unfortunately, I think that this is the worst matchup by far that Paper Rex could have got. And so I am going to pick DRX, who, of course, have looked incredible so far as well. Then we come to the Guard versus Optic. Which is a very interesting game again. Obviously a rematch of the 2 NA teams. I do think that this actually is a good thing for the Guard. I know that the Guard players and whatnot have been saying, oh, we've come to an international tournament to play against Optic. But I actually think that favors them heavily, because I think, for instance, if the Guard, I know that this couldn't have happened, but if they got a team like Paper X, or if they got like a DRX that play in a very distinct style that is different from pretty much any other NA team, I think that I wouldn't have been surprised if they just got 2-0'd and destroyed, to be honest, because I'm not sure how they will react to a team that plays in a very different style than they're used to, because they've never done that. We've seen Optic struggle with that, and Optic, I would say, are perhaps the NA team that I feel like is the most able to kind of adapt and play smart and not play in that NA style. And they've struggled with it heavily as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Guard did. But I think the Guard versus Optic, they are playing a team that they know. They are playing a team that they know they can beat. And I think that because there's so many other uncertainties about their inexperience with LAN and all of that, I am going to pick the Guard. And I think it does favor them that they actually got Optic. I think that is a good thing for the Guard, because it takes away some of those uncertainties that they would have had otherwise. And so I actually think it's a bit of an advantage for them. Now, coming into the lower rounds, we'll start with the lowers first, and then we'll kind of go through it. Zeta versus Loud, I still think that Loud are a very good team, and so I think that they just will be able to outfrag Zeta at the very least, and I also think they just have a bit of better coordination and things like that, so I do think that Loud will be able to take it against Zeta, unfortunately, for them. And then Paper Rex versus Optic, as I said, I think Paper Rex would beat anyone else other than DRX in that scenario from the teams that came from the group stages. I think that Paper X will just be able to surprise Optic in the way that they play, and I think they're a very good team, so I'm also going to pick Paper X. Then let's come to the upper semis. We have G2 versus Liquid. We saw this matchup play out pretty recently in EMEA, and G2 won that comfortably. And I do think that G2 will just be able, again, to kind of take Team Liquid. I would expect it to be close. Liquid have definitely stepped it up ever since they came to LAN, particularly Yampy. But I do think that I'm feeling G2 in this one. I feel like they, will start to, build in confidence. They perhaps got Zeta, who, let's be honest, they probably are the weakest team still in this playoff format. I know they've been on an incredible run, but I feel like they will just gain confidence. All those sort of LAN jitters from first game will be off the docket, and now, they'll start to be feeling themselves as they get through to the upper semis, and I do think that they are just a slightly better team than Liquid at this moment in time. Then DRX versus the Guard, and as I said, this will be the Guards, if this did happen, this will be their first challenge in terms of facing a team that has a very different style, and I'm not sure if they will be able to react to that very well. I think DRX have played incredibly well, and I'm sure most of you will all agree with me, and so I am going to predict DRX to take it over the Guard as well. And that would leave us with some very interesting lower round games with the Guard versus Loud and Team Liquid versus Paper Rex. Two really, really interesting games indeed. And I think the Guard versus Loud would be an insane game. This, again, kind of reminds me of this Loud Team Liquid one, where it would be, can Trent pop off or is Sassy popping off? It would, I think, become one of those games. But I think Loud, I don't know why, but I'm just feeling that Loud could do it. I feel like this would be more of a coin flip game, the Guard Loud, but I am going to go for Loud because I think that they overall were more impressive in the kind of qualifications and what I've seen from them as a whole. So I am going to go for Loud. And then Team Liquid versus Paper Rex. I think, again, Team Liquid are a team that Paper X would have loved to played at the start. Because I think that Paper X, again, with their weird, distinct style, are a team that can definitely catch Liquid off guard. I can already see Scream's face as he's watching like Forsaken and everyone on that team, really, Jing as well, just running at him and going crazy and you know, doing stuff, and he's like, what why are they there? Like, I can already see Scream's face. And so I am going to go for Paper X in that one as well. And that leaves us with G2, DRX, Loud, and Paper X. 4 teams from 4 different regions making it to kind of the semis, if you will. And G2 versus DRX would be a super interesting game. And at this stage, I still kind of don't know what to do. And so this is kind of how I've settled it. I'm going to go for G2 in the upper final here in the best of 3. And then in the lower round best of 3, I am going to go for Loud over Paper X. I think that this is when Paper X's kind of, you know, style of messing with teams kind of ends, and Loud are just able to, you know, fundamentally just win those duels and be able to win that match. And then we'd get DRX versus Loud in a best of 5, and I do think that DRX, because they're such a structured team, I think that in any best of 5 that favors them over anyone. And so I would pick DRX over Loud here, because I think when you have such a distinct style and you understand, and all of your team understands that style very well, and they all fit into it very well, and it's very cohesive and synergistic across all of the maps, I think that that favors DRX in a best of 5. And I think that that favors them to the point that I would also pick DRX in the best of 5 in the grand final as well. Because, as I said, I think because they have such a distinct style that, you know, can translate to pretty much every map, I think that DRX could win the grand final overall. And I think that being in a best of 5 suits them more than maybe a best of 3 in this first upper final for G2, because these last 2 games are best of 5. And so I am going to go for DRX over G2 to win the whole tournament. They have looked incredible so far. And I know that my initial pick was Fnatic over Optic. And in this scenario, I've got Optic going out straight away. And Fnatic are already out, so I basically just completely switched. And now watch this be wrong, and Optic will actually go on to win it all. Wouldn't be surprised in the least. So if you're an Optic fan, this is a great thing for you. But these are my predictions. It does feel like this tournament is very finely balanced, where literally a lot of different games could go in a ton of different ways. It's basically just flipping a coin a bunch of times, and that's why only one person has got everyone right so far, because when you flip a coin that many times, the likelihood is it's not going to be right. So yeah, those are my predictions. I'd be very interested in hearing what other people say. Go DRX. To be honest, I just like DRX. I like the way they play. I think they're cool, and I think that, you know, they're a really good team. So yeah, go DRX. And these are my predictions. I'd be very interested in hearing your guys' predictions as well for what you think will happen. Sorry, NA fans, but at the same time, as I said, this is probably a good thing for NA that I don't have you going that far, because that probably means that you will. Same for you, Zeta Division. This probably means that you will win the whole thing. So yeah, those are my predictions, and I will see you in a couple hours when you're watching my analysis video on Zeta Division.